Now, from the Paxa Studios in downtown Honolulu, Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu, 92.7 FM and 1420 AM. Brought to you in part by HGEA, IBEW Local 1186, by the Hawaii Building and Construction Trades Council, and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union.
And officially, the road to the Big West Championship is right now this week, leading up to Simplify Arena at the Stan Sheriff Center. Today, we welcome you to Call the Coach with the University of Hawaii men's volleyball coach Charlie Wade. Good evening. I'm Josh Pacheco, subbing in for Tiff Wells. The head coach of the Rainbow Warrior volleyball team, Charlie Wade, is with us here for the next hour. Coach, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations on the Big West regular season championship, the number one seed in the tournament championship. We'll kind of go broad picture now. We'll go into the particulars from last weekend and some of the individual awards as we go throughout the next hour. And, of course, we invite people to call in and text in at 296-1420. You can also send us some of your questions via our Facebook channel, which we'll populate from throughout the course of the next hour. But, Coach, let's look back over the course of the year. First perfect regular season in program history, the third unbeaten conference season in program history, of course, the first since 1996. I know the overall goal, and everybody knows the overall goal, which is the national championship. But when you hear those two things put together after what we've seen over the last couple of months, how do you describe how that feels, given after what we've been through just to get here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just so appreciative to have had a season, right? I mean, it really, and to have a safe season. We haven't had any positive tests throughout the academic year on our team, and I think men's vol, we're the only league, the Big West League didn't have any postponements or cancellations, which was a positive. And I think we might be the only sport in the Big West that's gotten through clean so far. So, just again, appreciative to be having a season and doing everything we can on a daily basis to stay safe and just keep trying to improve as a team and put our best effort out every time we take the court.
I think we talked about this prior to your first non-conference matchups out in Irvine and in San Diego, but this is a challenge for everybody that we've gone through. But you have such a veteran group that even though it was a learning lesson for everybody going in, I'm sure you had to feel somewhat confident going into this year that you had a mature and veteran group of individuals that you felt you could trust to do all the right things and ensure that you could have a season like this.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been doing the right thing on and off the court throughout their careers. So we were pretty confident, and it was obvious they were pretty dialed in, pretty committed to just staying on the path of doing the right thing every day. And so it's not a surprise that we've gotten to this point without any incidents, but it's still something that was so far out of everyone's control and so much unknown going into it that we're still very grateful for everyone and all the effort that's gone in from the league and from the athletic department, the university, all the testing and the health and safety protocols that have been implemented to get us to this point.
Coach, a lot of people have learned so many things over the last year plus. For you as a coach, have you learned anything about or anything new about how to coach in a pandemic or in difficult situations? Have you learned anything over the last few months that you've applied to how you work with these student athletes?
I mean, the communication is a little different sometimes. I know when you're trying to get a lot of information out, it kind of feels like you got a sock shoved in your mouth with a mask on, but we seem to get by with that. And, I think overall we've just, been really just trying to enjoy the moment and, enjoy these guys every day at practice. And when the game comes, just kind of, it's not really keeping them focused. Sometimes it's more just getting out of their way and letting them play and giving them the confidence to know that, they've worked really hard and they're good players. And if they're motivated and engaged, we got a really good chance of winning.
You're listening to Call the Coach with University of Hawaii men's volleyball coach Charlie Wade. You can call and text in at 296-1420. You talk about enjoying the moment, and that is it's a phrase that can be used in a lot of different ways, both positively and negatively. We'll get to the negative part with not having fans in the arena to enjoy that moment. We can get into that a little bit later on. But number one team in the nation for a good chunk of this year. We've talked a lot about the expectations after what wasn't able to be completed a year ago. How much have you and the team been able to enjoy every moment that's been there, given there's a lot of people talking about national championships, staying unbeaten, so on and so forth? How much have you been able to enjoy everything that you've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, I think we just enjoy the process, right? Just enjoy getting in the gym as much as we can and going through that, the process of going hard at practice and making sure you're improving. That's the real joy in it. The games sometimes get a little hectic, and I think overall sometimes winning can be a relief, right? You just get to the end like, okay, and then you're focused on getting on to the next contest. So for us, I think I know me personally, the real enjoyment comes at practice on a daily basis.
Randy is calling it at 296-1420. Randy, good evening. You're on with Coach Charlie Wade.
Hey, good evening, and thank you for Josh for, co-hosting this, because you really know your questions. But I just wanted to ask Coach, because even though he's not from Hawaii, he really loves Hawaii in a sense where, I guess his wife is from Hawaii or something. But anyway, he stayed to raise a family here, Josh, just like how we're trying to make a living. But, to be a coach is hard to be a coach, let alone be a coach at the University of Hawaii. So we just wanted to thank you, Charlie Wade, because in this age of this pandemic, all I can say is what better way to get your, than going to a volleyball game, going to a basketball game, and depriving the state of Hawaii to see Robin Amo's volleyball team, because they could be just as exciting as the men's. But because of certain regulations, it's very hard. And, as a fan that has been there for a long time, but we're so frustrated because we've always tried to get to that top, to get that gold medal, to get the state championship. I mean, we see it in high school sports, and Josh did a great job with the crew over there, But it's depriving the Hawaii person, and that's what I think Charlie Wade is cool about it, Josh, because he talks business, but he can be kind of loose to where he can just tell you guys, hey, you guys are here to play volleyball. Period.
I will, and Randy, you know what I'll do, and I appreciate you calling in, and thank you so much, because Charlie Wade is right here. So, Charlie Wade, directly from you, you heard him say that. What do you want to say to it?
Well, Randy, I appreciate that. I got here in August of '95, and very quickly fell in love with Hawaii and Hawaii volleyball. And I was an assistant coach with Dave Shoji, and I wanted to be a head coach, and that was always kind of the goal. And it was obvious to me early on that I wanted to be here. I wanted to raise my family here, and really want to bring the people of the state of Hawaii a national championship, not just one, as many as we can. I mean, the support that we get from the community is like nowhere else on the planet. So that's something that really motivates us and motivates me to keep working hard to put teams out there that are going to be in position to win. And then there's just a part of living in Hawaii, when you've been here for a while, and the aloha spirit is real, and the mana that you feel from people that genuinely care about what you're doing is real. So it's something that I do take personally, and anyone that's followed the program know that, we talk about Hawaiian language and Hawaiian culture, and trying to teach these guys from all over the planet a little bit something more about Hawaii than just it's nice weather and people are really into volleyball. I did marry a local girl, and we're fortunate that 2 of our 3 sons are at Kamehameha Kapalama campus, and it's something that we're very proud of as a family, and just do everything we can to represent Hawaii in the best way possible every chance we get.
Speaking of that, I experienced it for the first time when joining you guys for those first 4 matchups on the road after they play the national anthem. your entire team sings Hawaii Pono'i. Even they're announcing the starters. You're still singing Hawaii Pono'i. Where did that start, and how did it start?
Pretty organic, you know, guys. Just it's a part of the pregame routine here, and then when we've gone on the road, you know, somebody just starts a cappella singing, and it's gone on for a while. This year, it's been a little more pronounced and a little more noticeable because it's so quiet, right? And we've actually been a couple places when the in-house announcer will wait and stop and look like, wait a minute, they're singing. They don't know what to do. They let us finish, and then they go on with the announcement, which we wouldn't be offended if they kept going with the announcement, the introductions either. But it's just something that's kind of evolved and become more prevalent this year. And my guess is it will continue.
I'll address the other part of Randy's question. I was going to save it for later, but to transition into it, not being able to play in front of fans all year long. And then, of course, the announcement that came down last week from the Big West Conference officially that there would be no fans inside Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center for the Big West Conference tournament. How tough has that been, or has the mental focus of the players been so strong that at the end of the day, it hasn't really mattered? And were you disappointed to find out that they wouldn't ultimately let anybody in for the Big West Championship?
Well, one of our, you know, kind of guiding principles is always focus on what you control. And like I said, there's so much of this that's out of our control, and having fans wasn't going to be, they're not asking us, you know, so it really is just one of those, it just is. There's no such thing as fair or unfair. There just is. And, you know, we certainly understand the intent to keep everyone as safe as possible and leave it at that. You know, would we rather have 10,000 of our closest friends there? For sure. But I'd rather have, you know, guys that have worked so hard, have their mothers and fathers there to see them and support them without question. But that was not, it wasn't on our plate. And it's one thing that we really haven't talked much about because it's just not in our world, you know, and we make the most of it, you know, when we're out competing, and we know that the people are there supporting us and really just focused on winning for them each and every night.
You mentioned mothers and fathers. We'll talk about senior night and how special that was coming up in just a little while. I see the phone calls lining up. We'll get to your text as well. As we continue this hour with Charlie Wade, you're listening to Call the Coach as we're focused in on University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior Volleyball. This is ESPN Honolulu.
Locally owned, quality, real turf grass, commercial or residential. Southern Turf Hawaii has provided the very best sod and grass in Hawaii for nearly 20 years. With more than 12 varieties of top quality sod, our team of experts can help you choose the turf grass variety to fit your specific needs. We have 2 convenient locations to serve you, one in Mililani and the other in Kona on the Big Island. Visit southernturfhawaii.com and on Facebook. Southern Turf Hawaii, we are real turf.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
And we welcome you back. It is Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu, presented by PAXA. And this week we focus in on University of Hawaii men's volleyball with head coach Charlie Wade. And Mike has been hanging on at 296-1420. Mike, you're on the line with Charlie Wade.
Hey, brother Josh, thank you for taking my call. Coach, I want to thank you, Coach Charlie Wade, that you brought the team together and they kind of galvanized the whole state because we're all supporting you and the team. It's wonderful what you guys been doing. And, you know, my brother lives in Alabama, and you know him, is Roscoe Kahumoku, and Lily live up there too. And he always telling me about Alabama this and Alabama that. But I always tell him, I say, you guys beat us in football. But in volleyball, we beat you 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. And I just wanted to say that. And also, I'm sad for Robin Amo and Wahine as well, like the last caller was talking about. I'm sad that they couldn't play the season this year because I'm sure they would have brought it too and, you know, come closer, not win one of the conference championships like you folks did. I'm really proud of you folks, and thank you. Mahalo ba. Aloha.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And yeah, I know Roscoe and the whole family. Actually, I talk to Lily pretty much on a regular basis. You know, she checks in, and her husband is one of the best players in the world, and is now working as an agent in the sport. And so check in with him from time to time as well. But thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
We're welcoming your texts in as well at 296-1420. Shelly says, first of all, congratulations on a fabulous season. As a longtime men's volleyball fan, of course, wanted to be there, but I will watch on TV, clap, and scream. We'll be back in Simplify Arena next year to support you and the team. So proud of all the boys. Let's bring home that championship. We love you guys. That's from Shelly. You're so used to seeing nearly 10,000 people every night, but how different has it been in the ways you have heard from the fan base? I know you're not on social media, so you're not hearing from them that way, but how different has it been in the fan base reaching out to you and reaching out to the program to show them the support that you have been showing to them?
Yeah, and you can usually tell just, like I said, for me, I'm not on, but I can tell by whether it's at the grocery store, out walking the dogs, people just kind of stopping me on the street. And I still enjoy that form of communication as much as any. And you can tell it's a big deal. People are paying attention and, and disappointed that they're not able to come watch in person, but we know that they're there supporting us. And like you said, we're getting down to the end here. We're staying focused on, trying to get this thing across the finish line and bring home a championship to the state of Hawaii.
With the Big West Conference tournament here, we'll get through the schedule coming up in just a little bit. But before I go that route, senior night on Saturday. Nobody does senior night better than Hawaii in any sport, regardless. But Saturday night was different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I almost wonder if it was a little easier on the guys because it's not quite as emotional to have everybody in the house, but certainly missed not having everybody there. And we did set up an opportunity for people to drop off lei in the back of the arena, similar to stuff we did with the food drive earlier in the year. And as expected, it was just an unbelievable outpouring, and the guys had, just so much aloha for them, and it was great to see. And I know it really did mean a lot to the guys. So thank you to everyone who took the time to come down there, and the guys really did appreciate it. And it's just one more thing on the list of what this pandemic has brought us, and just dealing with things in a different way. And yeah, life's been different, but you make the most of it and move on.
One of the things, and I had this conversation with Scott Robbs during our baseball broadcast on Sunday, is that it felt like the way the senior ceremony was done, it felt like more of an intimate touch where you got to learn a little bit more about the student athlete, and also a little bit more about their background, their family. Whose idea was it to go that route? And did you kind of expect how well that was going to be received? Because definitely outside of the arena, I know you're not on social media. I was seeing it on social media, people talking about how they were crying on TV, watching it, and how emotional that was. Did you expect that kind of impact?
Yeah, I saw some of the stuff ahead of time, but wasn't sure. Brad Motoka here was the one that was kind of coordinated that. So it may have been somebody else and probably a number of people, but I'm going to give him the credit for it because he's the one that we were dealing with directly. And, again, in interesting times, require interesting measures. So I thought they did a nice job being creative, and again, getting the families involved so they couldn't be here to feel like they really was a part of it. I thought it was a nice touch, and who knows, some of that might be one of the things that we see post COVID that stick around.
And that's one of the things I think it shined a light on the most, is that there are stories about the players on this team that, as I got to learn a little bit earlier this year, Tiff has been telling throughout the year, that we've known so much about the player of the week, the historical numbers, that we haven't done as good of a job of telling the story about Rado, not necessarily Rado, the guy who is, sometimes carrying you through late in the match, or Colton Cowell and the Mamba mentality here this year. And I thought it was a really nice touch to see and to kind of bring everybody in on. And it also tells us a little bit about the guys that you recruit and some of those backgrounds that you really find yourself walking into. When you hear those stories and you hear some of those family members, does it bring you back a lot to when you recruit and when you talk to those family members before you sign some of those players?
Yeah, and pretty much across the board, I've been, to their home and sat with them and met the mom and dad and got to know them and just learned a little bit more about the family. And it's great to see, a guy like Rado where, and this, and you're telling this to a 17-year-old, like how impactful this decision is going to be. When we were in Northridge, he was talking about like it came down between us and Northridge. He just looks at like how that would have been, like how different his life would have been. I said, well, a lot of lives would have been different, had you not come here and gone there instead. So to see them come through, and Rado's just one of the examples of a guy that just has so much embraced Hawaii that this will be a part of him will always be from Hawaii, and it'll be home for him. So, and it is neat to see the family, and I know they would have been here if they can, but it's nice to see them be able to participate in that as well.
Since you mentioned Rado, we'll spend a minute or two on him. How would you encapsulate the regular season, the non-conference work from him? We've seen the accolades, and the Big West continues to award him week after week. How would you encapsulate the season he has put together thus far?
It's pretty impressive. Like I said, his numbers, if he's not player of the year, I don't know what happened, because he's been pretty dominant. And, just being around him, from a volleyball standpoint, the thing that he does that's remarkable, if you watch sometimes, just his ability to just step close, and that's literally almost with no approach, take the ball at a weird angle and score when everyone in the building knows that he's getting the ball. He is so good at doing that it's, I think sometimes we take it for granted. And his overall game, you watch him behind the block, how he can move in and pick up, kind of roll shots and tips behind the block for a 6'9" guy. That's really impressive. And, we saw him, have a kind of a nice turn at the service line there Saturday night, which we see at practice a lot. And I think he's frustrated, and we're all just kind of waiting when those moments come in a match, we win for sure, because he is dominant. And it was good to see not only Rado, but those guys starting to have nice turns from the service line coming down the stretch here. And, and Rado's just an impressive guy. Like I said, he's got a degree and going to walk out of here with a master's, and he's going to be successful in everything that he does for the rest of his life. There's no question.
You're listening to Call the Coach here on ESPN Honolulu. It is presented by Paxa. We're focusing in this hour on University of Hawaii men's volleyball with Rainbow Warrior head coach Charlie Wade. We go from Rado Potapunov to an incredible young man who got honorable mention earlier today from the Big West Conference, and that's Chaz Galloway, in a position that when we talked earlier in the year, it was a crowded position with a ton of talent, and he found a way to break through. Talk about how this young man really excelled this year and found a way to stand out.
Yeah, he continues to work hard, and he's having the best year ever on the court, obviously, but also in the classroom. He's another one of these guys that have embraced what they've learned from the older guys, that it's about doing your best in everything. I think at the start of the year was more just, his ability to hit fast sets, fast in the front row and fast out of the back row, because he's fast. He jumps fast and has a fast arm, but he's also embraced the part too about being, that high ball hitter, like we talked about with Rado, that can score when the block's well formed. And he struggled with that against Long Beach on the second night when he was kind of thrust into it, because Colton came off the floor and he had to do that. But he really has embraced it at practice, and he continues to get better. And you saw the impact that he made from Friday to Saturday, that putting him back on the floor really, really shifted the competitive balance towards us, because he can go fast and can hit the high balls. And his passing's been great. His serving's much improved. And, we're glad that he's got 3 more years of eligibility after this. He's going to have a great career here.
What some may not realize, and maybe they should, is a lot of that competitiveness that gets him back on the floor really does start in the gym earlier on in the week, because with all that depth that you have, that I know you've said to me in the past that, you could have starting positions, some of them determined by how well you play, because your A and your B rotations can really interchange depending on how well they look, right?
Yeah, and that's been, a real a real positive thing for us for the last several years. You know, last year we went back and forth with the setting position, and you know, we have 5 setters on the roster, and they continue to challenge Jake. You know, he has separated himself both physically and just his game's at a high level, but the outside hitting position is ultra competitive, where there's guys every day. And you know, and Chaz got pulled out. I think it was at Northridge where he struggled a little bit, and we just go to the next guy, and then you see him come back at the next practice with a vengeance. And that's always what you want to see when one guy dips down a little bit and somebody steps in and takes their spot, that the next opportunity that guy is given, that he raises his play. And that just continues for us just to stack, you know, good performances on top of each other and raise our overall level of play every chance we get.
And speaking of that depth, let's talk about someone who had to step in for Chaz after he was ill, Philip Boomlair. You know, he wasn't on that road trip in the first road trip of the year. He's had kind of a journey back from last summer to get ready and to be in the position that you can put him out on the floor and have that productivity. How did you feel about his performance as he stepped in there on Friday night? And talk about, for those that don't know, that journey back for him coming into this year.
Yeah, and you know, it was unfortunate that Chaz wasn't there, but I was going to start Philip regardless, even if Chaz was there. And we had him on the A side most of the week because we got to get him out there and see. You know, he was a starter last year. He hit 370 on the left. He is a different skill set where he's 6'7" and a bigger block and really good out of system, kind of the out of system specialist. That's what, you know, his thing is. And against the teams that put on a ton of service pressure, you know, that skill set's valued a little more. So we've been moving him and getting him on the A side, and he was playing good enough. We're like, you know what, we gotta throw him out there. If he's going to contribute in a meaningful way coming down the stretch, he needs to see some meaningful court time, not just at practice. So, you know, he was pretty good through 2 sets, and I think he started to get gassed a little bit. And then Kana came in, another guy that's been working hard. That came in and played some pretty meaningful minutes down the stretch. So, like you said, we got a pretty good stable of outside hitters. You know, Spiros Chaka started the season as a starter, and he's still out there every day competing and helping the team play at a high level every day at practice. So, you know, Phil is he's been through a lot, and he continues to work hard and just has such a positive attitude that, you know, you're really pulling for the guy and want to see him get back to playing at his highest capability.
We got a lot more names. We got a lot more names to talk about as we go on over the next half an hour or so. You can call us at 296-1420. Text us and call us and text us at 296-1420. And of course, on our Facebook, drop us a question on our Facebook live feed. It is Call the Coach with Charlie Wade here on ESPN Honolulu.
Brother, what you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homie fall-proof gear.
Brother, I don't think bubble wrap is actually going to work.
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. Brother, you okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting small and hot in here.
Oh, no.
It's raining over here. How we pump water stuff?
Hey, poco.
Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
And welcome back. It is Call the Coach, presented by PAXA. We're focusing on University of Hawaii men's volleyball with Rainbow Warrior head coach Charlie Wade. I'm Josh Pacheco, substituting in for Tiff Wells this week. You can text us at 296-1420. You can call us at 296-1420. And drop in your questions and your comments on our Facebook live feed as you watch tonight. One of our texters asks, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but it just goes to show the kind of connection that the fans have with this program and have just been kind of yearning for over the course of this year. Texter asks, will there be any celebration at the end of the volleyball season? It would be a shame that there would be no connection between fans and players at all. Perhaps meet and greet with social distancing guidelines in place. I know you're someone that says, hey, we control the controllables. We do what we can. How would you respond to that?
I think it's a great idea, and I know it's being discussed and how we can do it and can we do it. And you know, not only the the COVID protocols that are challenged, but and I think you could overcome them in some respects. And then there's the timeline. We come back, and then there's graduation. It's finals week and graduation, and then there's a lot of guys that are Rado hasn't been home in 2 years, and I know that he's the Bulgarian national team wants him with the senior group, and they're going to put him on the VNL roster, which is, the VNL is being played kind of in its own bubble, that he needs to get back there and get into that. So there's, a lot of moving parts that need to put that, but it's absolutely a good idea and one that is being discussed. I stay out of it a little bit because I just think it's bocce, and I'm not, getting into post-game celebration until we're done. But I mean, I think people do just want to, acknowledge this group and everything they've accomplished. And I'm certainly in favor of us being able to do something.
And I'm sure it can be said. I mean, I had been told that there had been, before the announcement, that there wouldn't be anybody able to come down, that there was effort to try to make that happen. So I hope people kind of see the fact, and I know you would agree with that there's been every effort that administration has tried to do to try to make something happen where fans or at least parents could be present.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were multiple efforts. It's all through the top of the university, and I think they were told no and went back and tried again. And I think everybody realizes, that they wanted to and just were unable to. And like you said, it's nothing that we've stayed too focused on. So we just gotta deal with what we can deal with, and keep staying on track what we got to take care of.
And dealing with is the Big West tournament, which is coming up Thursday through Saturday. Hawaii obviously has the bye and will get on the court Friday night at 7:05. Our coverage at 6:45 on ESPN Honolulu. It is at home, but being at home, is it still schedule-wise business as usual, or does it change a little bit because you've got all the other teams and some of the extra stuff that goes on? What does this week end up looking like?
Yeah, it's always a little more hectic because just the schedule, it's not just one other team. So the practice schedule is a little different, and then the media requests go up a little bit. And but we've hosted before and certainly played in the event and played in the final of the event for a handful of years here. And so it's just that time of year, right? Exciting time of year. And it's certainly an advantage to have guys that have been through it and been through it successfully.
As you look ahead, obviously you'll be waiting for that CSUN UC San Diego match that will be taking place on Thursday. Looking at whoever that opponent is, each of them have taken a set from your team over the course of the year. But it does go to show you that regardless of seeding in conference, each of these teams that will be, in a way, kind of gunning for your team, each of these teams has shown why the Big West has helped to make the Big West look like the best conference in men's volleyball for another year.
Yeah, no doubt. Northridge had a nice win Friday night. They won a 5-setter against Long Beach at home. And again, it just goes to speak at the high level of play each and every night, that you can't take anybody for granted. And some of the records don't look great because they've had to play against teams that are in the, some of the highest ranked teams in the country every night. But, and then Irvine's pushing us to 5 on Friday also. Like, that team, they get everything rolling. They could beat anybody. And they had it rolling Friday night. We'll see how they do, this week. That in the 3-6, that's a tough matchup too. So it's a high level play every night out, and I think everybody, players and coaches on both sides of the net, know that, and you better come ready to play.
Has it felt like, and I could think of any little kind of minuscule thing over the course of the year, has it felt like as you've gone through conference play, have you felt like you faced opponents on the other side of the net that look at you like you've got a target on your back? Has it felt like that a little bit more this year?
Yeah, it's the third year in a row we've been ranked for number 1 for some part of the season. And, again, that's been kind of most of the season. So I think everybody fires up to play us. We've been good for a long time. And again, you better be fired up to play every night out. If not, you're going to lose. So, it's That's not something that we really talk about. And it's just, you're going to respect your opponent, and no matter who's on the other side of the net, and we're going to prepare and give it our best shot every time.
Let's take a quick glance ahead. Peter on Facebook says, "Hey, Coach, we are losing some major players after the season. How are we looking talent-wise for next year? Rebuild or reload?"
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty confident that, we have suitable replacements to everyone that's leaving. I mean, obviously, a guy like Ratto is unique, 6'9", lefty hammer, and Ratto here is a fifth-year guy, wasn't Ratto as a first-year guy. So there is that maturation that everyone goes through, and Pat Gassman, the 6'10", nobody's got one of those right now. But we've got really good players, and you've seen it. One of the things that we haven't been able to do this year with the no non-conference schedule is play those guys more, especially early in the season. But they go hard every day at practice. I mean, that group can beat our A side. It happens. There's no question. We got some good guys coming in that, right now the young guys that we bring in really can't start and play, but they provide some depth, and everybody, kind of keep the talent level high. I do think that, and not just for us, but I know that, a couple of people have reached out, that the transfer this year with Stanford, with the program likely going away, and then just everyone having another year here, a year of eligibility, that there's guys that are graduating that still have a year or two of eligibility that are looking to play on a more successful team, or maybe just a change of scenery. So I think that for a lot of teams is going to impact their roster, just one or two pieces that come in that somebody that really is able to contribute. We like our depth, we're not really out, and for us, the transfer guys wouldn't be just a depth thing and just another guy. It would be someone that you got a pretty good chance of starting and keeping us at the highest level. So, and with the way the league is now, where it's a 6-team league, and the winner goes every year, so you really start to focus on those 5 other teams, because and it's this week a year that you got to be better than those 5. The rest of the country can do what they want, but if we can get it together and win this week, you're in the NC2A tournament. So that will continue to be the focus.
And of course, that difficult part handling all of that is the amount of scholarships or lack thereof that you're given to try to fit all those puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, and Josh Walker deserves a ton of credit. We've got some impressive guys coming in, and they're all walk-ons. We just didn't have a lot coming off the books, and with these guys coming back, and we just didn't have any cap space available. And we have guys that are turning down scholarship offers at other schools to come here to be a part of what we're doing. And it allows us to kind of stockpile talent, to bring in talented guys they're going to be good in the future, without having to, kind of, like I said, give them some of the cap space, when we can kind of reinvest money as it comes available to the guys at the top of the roster, and keep everything ultra competitive.
One more looking ahead before we circle things back around to the moment in our next segment. But I know one person asked me about non-conference scheduling looking ahead to next year, given who knows what the scheduling model could look like, hopefully back to normal. But have you been able to start scheduling ahead non-conference wise?
Yeah, we've had, at one point you're trying to do the 20 schedule again, right? Or what's left of it. And then we had agreements for 21 that were canceled. So we're just trying to put that together. I know Lewis wants to come out for the outrigger again, and Penn State was supposed to be in that event as well. So, we're hoping to put the field back together. Loyola is reached out, and they want to come out because we were at their place in early in 2020, so they owe us the trip out. The other thing that'll impact us a little bit, because basketball, the Big West basketball expanded by 2 teams, they literally have all the weekends wrapped up starting in January. So I don't think you'll see us be able to host a tournament like we usually do. We usually have one tournament in January, one tournament in February, and then the outrigger in March, and then, filling in those kind of Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. I think that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with, because it's the one thing that we know we can do right now a little more. So you'll see more just a team come out and play us twice than the tournament format. But, that's it still gets us to allows us to get some really, quality matches against some good teams out here.
Looking ahead to 2022 is exciting, but not as exciting as looking ahead to the Big West Conference Tournament, which kicks off this week. We'll circle back around to some of the awards that have been handed out today. We'll wrap up with some of your texts and your Facebook comments as well. That when we return. You're listening to Call the Coach on Rainbow Warrior Volleyball. It's presented by PAXA here on ESPN Honolulu.
Hi, I'm Battery Bill to tell you about our car battery sale. We slashed the price of our 5-year grade battery. For you, a 1-year warranty battery will be $69.95. Yes, just $69.95 for a battery that will most likely be the one for you. If you're looking for a better battery, we have the Interstate and Optima. And our best, the Odyssey Northstar battery. Whether you are looking for a good, better, or the best battery for your car, Battery Bills has the selection. Please visit our Mapunapuna store, Nimitz Highway store, or even Hilo.
Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu.
You're listening to Call the Coach on ESPN Honolulu. We are in on Rainbow Warrior Volleyball with University of Hawaii men's volleyball coach Charlie Wade. We'll get through some final thoughts, go through the awards in a little bit, but let's start with one of the texts that have come in throughout the show. Coach, this one should be fun. How are officials for the Big West tournament decided? Are they graded after games? The crew that's been doing Hawaii's games, the texter's words, has messed up the last 2 series pretty badly. Close quote. You want to answer that one?
There's been a little confusion, and when we talk about what has happened, we had our conference call today with the league officials, the head of officials. I believe he's coming out, and he's the one that will evaluate them after the matches for sure. And there's 3, I know 3 officials I remember him naming. So there'll be both officials working the match will be guys from the mainland that are top rated officials. And there will be 4 lines persons for every match. So they're going to make every effort to have the matches be officiated at the highest level possible.
And with how good the Big West is, this conference deserves nothing less than that. So that's really good to hear. Tammy on Facebook says, congratulations on another successful season so far. What do you tell the players before the matches, and how do you motivate them?
It changes a little. You got to kind of feel the mood and feel the room. Sometimes, maybe we need to get them a little fired up, but for a lot of the big matches, you don't have to. They know what's at stake. They absolutely get pretty dialed in. So I think it's some of the other matches that you're a little concerned there could be some complacency that you want to come up with some stuff to get their attention. But this group's been pretty dialed in. So we know we're getting down to the end of the year, and I think they're pretty locked in.
Earlier today, the Big West Conference came out with their first team, honorable mention selections, so on and so forth. And the first team for the second consecutive year, Rado makes that list: Patrick Gaspin, Gage Worsley, Colton Cowell. And one note, and I thank Tiff Wells for this note, Gaspin becomes the first 4-time first team selection in league history. That's pretty telling in a pretty solid league.
Yeah, it's impressive. There's no doubt. I mean, it's a new league too, so he's had the first opportunity to, but well deserved. There's no doubt that he is a dominant player at his position, and that's gonna be a tough act to follow for anybody.
How did he get the uncle nickname, by the way?
Probably just because he looks like he's his dad. He's so bigger than everybody that I don't know exactly. It seems like he's had it since he got here.
Yeah, someone asked us during one of our volleyball broadcasts, so I figured we'd throw it out there. Down to about our final minute here. Coach, final thoughts looking ahead to the Big West tournament starting on Thursday with your team opening up your run on Friday.
Again, just super appreciative to everything that's gone in to get us to this point. I think that we're the only sport in the Big West that has made it this far without a positive case. And I think that, we're the only league in men's volleyball that got without a cancellation or postponement. So very appreciative to everyone that's, done everything the right way to get us to this point. And again, just super appreciative to all the people in the community that have stepped up and made this season possible by bringing back the seniors. And, that's our motivation, just to repay them in the only way we can, and to go out and just, play our goalies off every night and do everything we can to bring home this week a Big West championship and hopefully next week the national championship.
Coach, it's a busy week, and I appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. Thank you, and we'll do it again next week.
Thank you, guys. Aloha.
Charlie Wade, University of Hawaii men's volleyball coach. We'll do this again next Monday night at 6 p.m. here on ESPN Honolulu. And, of course, you can watch on our Facebook channel at ESPN Honolulu. For Coach Charlie Wade, I'm Josh Pacheco, in for the voice of Hawaii volleyball, Tiff Wells. We'll talk to you next Monday.
You've been listening to Call the Coach, brought to you in part by HGEA, IBEW Local 1186, by the Hawaii Building and Construction Trades Council, and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. This has been an exclusive presentation of ESPN Honolulu.